Greetings, friends. My name is Pavel Shtermo, and now we'll unveil the top news of recent days. Sending NATO troops to Ukraine is not a red line for Estonia. This was stated by the ambassador of Estonia to Ukraine, Anneli Kolk. In an interview with RBC Ukraine, she said that her country is ready to discuss it. This is not a red line for us. We are hoping for a common position from NATO or the European Union. And our leaders, I mean especially the Ministry of Defense, they are discussing it, and recently they said that nothing is impossible for us, she said. And we trained Ukrainian instructors now on our land. But Romania is ready to hand over the additional Patriot air defense system to Ukraine.
This crucial contribution will bolster our air shield and help us better protect our people and critical infrastructure from Russia's air terror. I appreciate Romania's strong leadership and principled support for Ukraine. Importantly, this step strengthens security not only in Ukraine, but throughout our region and Europe. By putting an end to Russian terror now, Ukraine prevents potential aggression against Moldova, Romania, the Baltic states, and all of our neighbors. It is critical for Ukraine to have the necessary tools to defeat Russian terror now, so that no one else has to face Russia's aggressive actions on a larger scale in the future. Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Ukraine, on social network X.
At the same time, despite Moscow's threats against Finland with military technical measures due to its accession to NATO, military bases near the Finnish border are almost empty. Personal equipment was thrown into the war against Ukraine. This was reported by the Finnish public broadcaster IL, with reference to an intelligence source. On average, 80% of equipment and soldiers were transferred to the war against Ukraine, the source reports. Depending on the base, the share of withdrawn military equipment is slightly higher or lower, including depending on the season and the conduct of exercises. Almost only instructors and recruits remained at the bases. Contract workers were sent to fight. Russia is raking out equipment and military personnel from its bases not only under the Finnish border, but throughout its vast territory, except for Moscow, of course. IL also received satellite images of Russian bases that confirm some changes, but not radical ones. Thus, at the Russian military base near Petrozavodsk, as of May 2024, compared to June 2023, dozens of pieces of equipment stationed there have disappeared. At the same time, one new hangar appeared, which was not there before, and the equipment was standing in the open air. Photos of the Karelian Isthmus show that there are currently numerous tents for the accommodation of personnel, probably mobilized or conscripts undergoing basic training. Let me remind you that French President Emmanuel Macron was the first leader who did not rule out sending troops to Ukraine. According to him, if Russia goes further in Ukraine, the West will have to consider sending troops. In an interview with The Economist, Macron said that the question of sending Western troops to Ukraine legally would arise if Russia breaks through the Ukrainian front lines, and Kyiv makes such a request. Macron called Putin's Russia a force of regional destabilization and a threat to the security of all Europeans. Now Russia's threats to use nuclear weapons, and more politicians and people now understand that these are only threats. Putin continues to intimidate the West, and the main thing is not to be afraid of it. The 14th package of sanctions for Russia, agreed at the level of ambassadors, permanent representative of the member states of the European Union, will be officially approved on Monday at the meeting of the EU Council on Foreign Affairs, with subsequent publication in the official journal. As the European diplomat reported after the adoption of the relevant decision within the framework of the meeting of the Committee of Permanent Representatives, more than 100 new individuals and legal entities were added to the new package of sanctions, as a result of which the total number of persons under sanctions exceeded 2.2 thousand people. In addition, the sanctions include measures aimed at the import of liquefied natural gas, its transportation and investments. Sanctions will also provide additional tools to avoid the circumvention of these restrictive measures, especially for subsidiaries of EU parent companies in third countries. The 14th package also includes new measures on financial messaging services, as well as measures aimed at combating foreign interference and undermining EU democratic systems throughout new rules on Russian funding. In addition, there are a number of transport measures to avoid bypassing air, road and sea roads, and new restrictions on the export of dual-purpose goods and technologies, in particular to third countries and products that contribute to the development of Russia's industrial potential. Earlier, the Belgian presidency of the Council of the EU reported that the ambassadors of the EU member states agreed on the 14th package of sanctions against the Russian Federation in response to Russian aggression against Ukraine.
EU ambassadors just agreed on a powerful and substantial 14th package of sanctions in reaction to the Russian aggression against Ukraine. This package provides new targeted measures and maximizes the impact of existing sanctions by closing loopholes. Belgian presidency of the Council of the EU 2024 on social network X.
As reported, officials from 27 EU countries discussed the new package of sanctions for more than a month. The new measures include a ban on the transshipment of Russian liquefied gas and a plan to hold EU operations accountable for sanctions violations by subsidiaries and partners in third countries. Reuters, citing EU diplomats, wrote that Germany allegedly blocked the package despite the fact that a clause that Berlin considered problematic had been removed. China has serious influence on Russia, so it could help in ending the war. This was stated by the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, after the conclusion of the Global Peace Summit. He emphasized that Ukraine has always respected China and the territorial integrity and sovereignty of this state. China could help. And therefore, the proposals that the Chinese side has can be discussed in the world dialogue. However, proposals should not be through the media. It is not the way. We are talking about the end of the war, thousands of victims, the capture of territories, burnt houses and lives. Ukraine has only one enemy, Putin, because it was he who attacked us, Zelensky said, and he would like China to be a friend to Ukraine.
Ukraine never said that China is our enemy. And I ask you not to use such things. I always say that Ukraine has one enemy, Putin, because he attacked us. As regards friends, then I believe that friends are those who are helping when it is difficult, and I would want China to be a friend for Ukraine.
The president noted that China and Ukraine were serious economic partners, but Putin blocked the Black Sea, and therefore the trade between our countries has significantly decreased. Putin did everything to make Chinese representatives work with other diplomatic institutions of other countries so that they cancelled their presence and support for Ukraine and joined the Sino-Brazilian proposals. And it seemed to me that this is wrong. Each country and leader has the right to their own position without breaking others, Zelensky also said. I will remind you that China did not come to the World Peace Summit in Switzerland. Beijing said that any peace process will require the participation of Russia and Ukraine. The absence of a representative from China was commented on by Jake Sullivan, an advisor to the US President Joe Biden. He assumed that this was connected with Putin's request not to go to the summit. At the same time, he added that this speaks of China's position regarding Russia's war against Ukraine. Let me remind you that Reuters wrote, referring to diplomats, that China skipping the summit on the peace plan for Ukraine is lobbying governments for its alternative plan. That concludes our today's video. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, comment, like and subscribe to our UATV channel on YouTube for more news from Ukraine. It is your support that really matters for us. Goodbye.